hopefully,
Okay, good,
we're definitely on the same page.
good.
Okay. No, basically, when they register on, in constant contact, once they get on the confirmation email, they get,
So we'll get started here in a couple minutes, I assume.
Well, we can start now if you want.
Yeah, let's go. Let's jump into it. I got a good amount of content.
Pam? 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 See, I think she has to do something so they can hear me. But she says here she's got her microphone now.
Maybe we could send her a quick chat. Oh, they could all hear us. Oh, everyone, you're the best. Thanks for letting us know. Let us know in the chat if you could hear us. Throw up some dollar signs. Give us a thumbs up. There we go. Sally, Christine, David. All right. Rosemary, Kim. Great. We're getting going, Ed.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this SCORE webinar with Stephen Picanza. SCORE is the SCORE San Diego office is part of the national organization. We're a volunteer organization where business people and corporate executives volunteer their time to mentor people who are starting their business or already have a business and have questions and issues they would like to deal with. The service is free and it's one-on-one and it's always confidential. You can talk like with Zoom or email, or you can meet them like in a Starbucks or whatever works for the client and the mentor. Let's see, our SCORE San Diego, mainly our services is the free mentoring, and it is customized, and like I said, it's confidential, and you're welcome to use it for as long as you find value in it. We have several of our clients who have gone on to be quite successful, and they keep using the service for 10 years or more. We also have about 40 workshops and a vast variety of business subjects, starting out with a startup series for people just getting into business. That includes getting started, business model canvas, marketing, business plan, financial plan, and so forth. On our website, we have an online business library. It's quite extensive and it's quite a resource for looking up information about running your business. We also have a every other month women's networking breakfast. That draws about 100 ladies, and men are welcome too. And they have a featured speaker each time. And I think you would find that really an interesting thing to join in. And finally, we have our CEO forums. Those are groups of 8 to 12 business people who get together once a month and are facilitated by a couple of SCORE mentors. And they just talk about issues that come up and questions they have. And they have the benefit of having their peers there who can kind of tell them what they've done with those issues and how they resolve them. And it's a popular thing, and it goes over quite well. And with that, I'll turn you over to Stephen.
Great. Thanks, Ed. Hey, everyone. Great to be here. Wish I could say I was enjoying the amazing San Diego weather, but it is not. I recently moved out of San Diego and back on the East Coast, but more on that later. Today, we are here to talk about creating your personal brand one-liner. And if you do so, how you're able to keep your sales funnel full, hopefully for life. So we already did one of the exercises where I always say, if you could hear me, put it in the chat, give me a yes and give me a thumbs up. And a lot of you already have. So stoked on that. So we're just going to get started. I'm going to do a quick time check. Okay. So let me just find my mouse. All right. So I do have a little bit of a warning. I wanted to set the stage so we're all on the same page that hopefully attending today's webinar, it's going to make you better at marketing than 4 out of 5 of these self-proclaimed experts. There are a dime a dozen these days, and really because the barrier to entry to marketing is so low that anyone could be a guru. And so I want to eliminate all that. This is my warning to you that you're going to leave here super jazzed, super excited. And you're also going to leave here really understanding and finding clarity in your brand message and understanding some of these branding principles that's going to allow you to keep your sales funnel full. We're also going to talk about how to control your brand externally to your vendors, partners, and employees, and how by doing all this, you can increase your revenue and really enhance the lifetime value of your customers. So as we go through today, there's a Q&A part of Zoom. If you have questions, please put it into the Q&A. We're going to leave about 15 minutes afterwards to answer questions and hopefully be able to engage a little bit further. So again, my goal today specifically is show you some steps that you can implement. I don't want to just be a talking head. I want you to leave here with actionable items. And again, having that clarity. Marketing can be confusing, but it's really my purpose, my mission to make it understandable so everyone can realize the power of their brand to grow their business. And then also, I am not here to bore you with buzzwords or marketing jargon that nobody understands. I'm here just to give you the facts and give it to you straight. So specifically regarding today, everyone, we're going to talk about some popular branding misconceptions. I hear it all the time from small businesses where they think branding is one thing, but we're going to break down these core elements of what branding really is and why it is so powerful. We're also going to talk about how you can discover your brand direction and then craft your perfect one-liner. If we think about branding as an iceberg, that one-liner is the part of the iceberg that you see, that everyone can see from miles away, and it usually comes to a real nice point on top for a reason. We're going to craft that. And then how to leverage your brand DNA and all these core tenets that I'm going to show you on how this is going to allow you to keep your sales funnel full. Hopefully to get not only through this pandemic that we're all in, but hopefully for life. I want you to take this and be able to keep your sales funnel full for a very, very long time. So I do have something awesome at the end. I'm going to tell you about it, but you need to stay until the end. And I'm going to share with you a cool resource. I guess you can call it a free gift for everyone here today. In addition to my slides, I know that a couple of people had sent me a private message already asking if they're going to get the slides afterwards. Yes, you are going to get the slides, but I got a little something else for you guys too. So just so you're all aware, I am Stephen Picanza. I am a brand strategist. I'm also an educator. I teach branding at Drexel University outside of Philadelphia. I'm also an international instructor of branding at the European Institute of Design in Milan. As well as I teach extensively, I teach workshops extensively throughout the SCORE network, as well as the SBDC in Pennsylvania. And I am an entrepreneur mentor with John Cabot University, which is the American University in Rome. All that being said, I've also authored a ton of cool articles with a ton of great names like Advertising Week and Sound and Communication and CIO Review Magazine. And I have my own branding firm, which is called Latin & Code, as well as being a strategic advisor with the Agency Guy. And really with the Agency Guy, our mission is to help connect brands to agencies, usually at no charge, in the hopes of helping to guide you to make the smartest marketing investment possible. Well, with all that said, let's dive into it. What do you say? Let me just take a quick sip of water and give you this awesome black screen. And let's dive into today's topic, everyone. Branding. Oh, it is such an awesome term because it means so many different things to so many different people. But in the power of it, right? When we break it all down, the power of branding can be summed up in one photograph. This photograph right here. The sneakers on the left are great sneakers. Charge $15. Sneakers on the right, same pair of sneakers, except there's a pink logo on them, and that it has a $150 charge. Now, is there any difference in the sneakers? Not necessarily. Both pairs have shoelaces. Both pairs have a rubber sole. Both pairs have a nice tongue. Both pairs come in, I'm sure, a variety of different colors. But what are you paying for when it comes to this? You're paying for the brand. You're paying for that logo. You're paying for the perception that that logo is giving off. Same could be said about the Apple earbuds. Everyone wanted to have the white earbuds when they came out because it was a status symbol. So the power of branding is summed up right here. And we can leave here today and hopefully you can take this and you'll be like, I understand branding, but we're going to dive a lot deeper. So there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to branding. As a consultant, I'm always getting people, small businesses coming, being like, Steven, I need a new logo. I need a new brand. Branding is not your logo, though. Branding, again, your logo is just that visual aspect that encompasses your brand. Look at Starbucks cup here. When you look at this, do you think that the brand is the logo, or is the brand everything that comes with the logo, the whole experience inside that cup? And I'm not just talking about the coffee beans, I'm talking about everything else that comes with it. So when you start thinking about your brand, when you start thinking about the idea of what branding is, the logo is oftentimes the last thing we're going to work on. There is so much work that needs to come up to create that perfect logo. And the reason why the logo works, and again, it's the first thing you're going to see and you're going to remember, why is that? Because of all the work that we did to build this skyscraper. Also, I talked about earbuds earlier. Branding, your products don't define your brand. In the case of the earbuds do not define the Apple brand. The Apple brand is defined by the great design of the products, by them challenging us to think differently, by their reputation, by the accessibility, right? Again, Apple just works. It's not because of the product. The product is one sliver of the brand, of course, but it's so much more. Also, branding is not your price. When we start thinking about pricing, oftentimes, I have a great story. Years ago, I'm working with a gym, and it was one of those $9.99 gyms. And these $9.99 gyms were a dime a dozen many years ago. And gym company came up to us talking about, we want to reposition. We really want to plant our flag in the ground. We want to be known as a $9.99 gym. And I had a hard time with that because what happens when inflation hits? What happens when you need to raise your price? What happens when you no longer can sustain your business model as being the $9.99 gym? Well, now you're going back on your promise that you're making to your customers. So let's reposition this gym brand to being affordable, to being accessible, to being inclusive, but not necessarily branding you based on price. After many conversations, ultimately, that company and us and my old firm that I was working with, and we're talking many years ago, we didn't see eye to eye on the core business strategy. And business and brand strategy are going to play very close together, the whole different presentation I can give. But ultimately, what I'm trying to say is we cannot brand for life based on our price, right? We got to consider our price when we are looking at our positioning. It is definitely a consideration, but we should not solely rely on our price to solidify our position. Also, branding is not advertising. I think there's a lot of people get confused here, right? We see the ads. The ads may have a tagline or a slogan, but that ad usually is selling a specific product. Again, the Ford F-150 ad that you see doesn't define the Ford brand. It is a part of it. It helps to build that house that is the brand, but it is not the 100% tried and true brand. And this is very common because we live in an age of personalization. We live in an age where if you are advertising to your audience, you could be very targeted with that ad, and you could be changing that messaging and that creative to talk to that specific audience group. And I recommend that. So what does that mean? One size does not fit all anymore. You cannot have one ad campaign that you think is going to encapsulate your whole brand as well as all your different audience types. We need to be targeted and we need to be segmented. This all starts with the branding process, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. Also, branding is not your website. Perfect example is Amazon. Amazon is more than a website. Amazon is allowing life to go on as somewhat normal during these challenging times. Amazon is a way that we never have to forget gifts again. Amazon is a way to make our lives simpler and less frustrating because we don't have to go to the store. The store can come to us. It's more than just a www dot. It is everything that Amazon is now touching. We're talking web servers, we're talking Whole Foods. Amazon is much more now than just a website. So even if you're an e-commerce seller, and I sell e-commerce, I sell on Amazon myself, as well as I have an off Amazon brand. And I understand that, yes, our website is tremendous in driving traffic and driving revenue, but it is not our end all be all. It is not our brand. It is a mechanism for our brand to communicate with our audience. And also, branding is not your tagline. We bring good things to life is not what General Electric is not their brand promise. This was just a tagline that they used to bring out to really be front forward and front facing. When you look at General Electric, their brand promise and their brand was all about bringing electricity to everyone in North America, to allowing everyone the option and opportunity just to turn a simple light switch on and be powered at the blink of an eye. So your tagline often is going to help solidify that positioning. It's often a fun way to hopefully become memorable, but it is not that line in the sand that you were drawing. Especially today with personalization and with everything being so personalized with digital, we cannot just rely on that one blanket statement. Some branders in my cohort and my colleagues would argue that the tagline is antiquated. That it should not exist anymore within the brand ecosystem. And I partly agree. I partly agree that some brands should not try to fit a square into a circle by trying to create the perfect tagline. Try to create the perfect positioning with your core audience first. The tagline will come later. So this all brings us to the big question of the day. So what is a brand, Stephen? It's a brilliant question. Ultimately, your brand is what your prospect thinks of when he or she hears your brand name. Not what you say it is, it's what your prospect is thinking. A good friend of mine and a mentor, Marty Neumeier, says it is a person's gut feeling about a product, service, or organization. So again, it's not anything to do with us as a business owner. It has everything to do with our audience. Because brands are defined by the individual. It's not defined by a parent company, a hashtag, or a market trend. The audience is going to eventually define us. And it's the same thing when we think about, our personal brand and our reputation. We can only do so much to keep it, on the straight and narrow. But eventually, if someone has the perception of me that I can't control it. And it's the same thing whether we're talking personal branding or corporate branding, nonprofit branding or startup branding. It doesn't matter. We can only control as much as we can control. So it brings us to this great section where we start talking about what a modern day brand is. So whether personal brand, corporate brand, nonprofit brand, really doesn't matter. We all have to follow the same rules. And the first rule is we have to stay authentic, right? We have to communicate honestly. We have to be clear. We have to be true. We have to be honest with ourselves, with our audience, with our market, with our stakeholders, with our shareholders, with our board of directors. Honesty is the key. And those brands that don't practice honesty, they get into a lot of trouble. And there's a lot of brands that we can look at these days where Maybe the CEO. Look at WeWork and their CEO and all the issues that they have gone through. What part of this authentic wheel did they not follow? So as you start looking at this, ask yourself these questions. Are you acting with integrity at all times? Forward facing, back of house, right? To your employees and staff and vendors, to your customers. Are you being honest and open? Are you being relevant? Even more important today, because our audience definitely has changed, possibly forever. So we need to be relevant. We need to be hyper relevant, and we need to communicate often our relevancy. We also need to, as a modern day brand, be obsessed with customer experience. As Henry Ford says, it is not the employer who pays the wages. Employees only handle the money. It is the customer who ultimately pays the wages. Everything we do, personal brand, corporate brand, nonprofit brand, startup brand, has to be, we have to be obsessive over our customers' experience, because they are going to make or break us in the end. Also, a modern day brand is well positioned, and I'm going to show you in a couple minutes the formula for creating your brand positioning. Understand where we sit in our marketplace, where we sit, where do we sit in providing value, and are we distinctive, and how do we differentiate? These all becomes part of your brand positioning. Quick sip of water. Also, modern day brand is built on trust. I mentioned Starbucks earlier. I'm going to tell you a little story about Starbucks. So the formula for building trust is pretty simple. Reliability plus delight will equal trust in the long term. So think about Starbucks. Now, you may love or hate their coffee. It doesn't really matter. Me, not a big fan, but again, that's neither here nor there. When you walk into a Starbucks, and you can walk into any Starbucks in the country, you could be on the Starbucks in Mission Valley, to North County, to Phoenix, Arizona, Anchorage, Alaska, wherever you are, you're going to get probably the same experience, right? It's going to smell the same. It's going to sound the same. And the chairs will probably be the same. Bathrooms will hopefully be clean. Wi-Fi is hopefully going to work, right? They are reliable. You can walk in there at any time, and Ed mentioned at the beginning when SCORE offers these mentorship programs, these free mentoring, and he even said you can meet at a Starbucks with your mentor, because you know the experience you're going to get, always. 99.9% of the time, you know that they're going to be reliable. Now also, they're going to couple that with, they're going to delight the customer every chance they get. So for example, you go into Starbucks, typical Starbucks, you're greeted as soon as you walk in, and you order a triple upside down latte with 3 scoops of cinnamon and caramel and the whole thing, and you're waiting, and finally the barista says, so your order is ready at the bar, and you pick up the drink, and it's not right. It's not the drink you ordered. Maybe it's somebody else's drink, or maybe this didn't make it up to your expectations. So you say, excuse me, ma'am or sir, this drink isn't right. What do they do at that exact moment? They say, no problem, I'll make it again. How do you want me to make it? So they are delighting the customer at every chance they get. So you have this reliable environment plus the delighting, the customer experience, right, of their employees always wanting to delight the customers equates to trust. So now Starbucks can sell in stores, Starbucks can sell in the pre-made drink aisle, Starbucks can even test food, which they have been doing, and how about even alcohol? Some locations across the country now even serving alcohol, because Starbucks have built up such a tribe, they built up trust. So your personal brand, you want to really scale your personal brand, you really want to make sure that you're building trust at every touch point. Every touch point, and when I use the term touch point, any opportunity you have to interact with your customers, whether online or offline, you should be able to build trust. Be reliable in your messaging, and always put the customer experience first. The modern day brand also, in relation to building trust, acts as a guide to the hero. Your customers are the hero. You're not the hero as a personal brand, as a corporate brand, as a nonprofit brand, as a startup brand. We all want to think we're the hero. We're here, we're going to change the world. We're changing our customer's life. I have a new coaching program. I have a new plumbing supply store. Whatever it is, I'm here to change the customer's life. I hate to break it to you, but that's absolutely wrong. You're here not to change their life. You're here to guide them so they change their own life. And when you're able to guide them, and when you're able to solve their problem, you're in their life forever, because you are here to help guide them. That's why I have a photo of Yoda here. And this is pulled from Donald Miller, and he wrote The Story Brand and the phenomenal book. I highly recommend it. But this is what he talks about. Don't be the hero. Everyone wants to be the hero. Be the guide. Be the Yoda to Luke Skywalker. Be the Dumbledore to Harry Potter. These characters are those steadfast characters that your customers are going to rely on. Because essentially your customers are looking to you to do one or two things. Save the money, make the money, right? You're here to help them survive and thrive. And in order to do so, you have the framework. You have the goods to allow them to do so. It's all about how you position yourself and how you talk about yourself. So in a little bit, I'm going to get to how to craft that perfect one-liner. And that one-liner is going to be, hi, I'm so-and-so. I solve X problem for Y persona using XYZ. How can I help you? And it becomes the most powerful, powerful, powerful marketing tool you can have. So how do you find your brand? We kind of went through what a brand isn't, and then I showed you the kind of overarching core elements of what a brand should be. But what about when you're saying, well, okay, great, Stephen, this all sounds awesome, but how do I find my brand? You got to remember, number one, though, the purpose of branding is to get more people to buy more things from you for more years at a higher price. So with this in mind, this is why we build a brand the way that we build a brand, because skyscrapers are not built in the sand. And so in order to have something that's scalable and that can soar, we need to have a concrete foundation. So in looking at this brand sweet spot, right, we're talking about positioning. I always start, no matter who I am working with, we're going to start in the same area. If you're a personal brand or if you're a corporate brand, internally, what do you believe to be true about the brand? What are your internal, what does your gut say? What does your internal gut say? And then we're going to look at your competitors. What do your competitors do in this space? And then also your consumers. What do they say? So let's even break this down even more. So internally, well, I'm going to go back. First off, I have my slides reversed. Caught me there. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to ask, what do we believe to be true about the brand? So this is where we might conduct stakeholder interviews, or we might just ask ourselves some really tough questions. And if you need additional guidance, I do have an ebook called The Growth Mindset for Entrepreneurs that I would love to send you. Just remember to shoot me an email afterwards and ask me for it. But these are questions that we need to ask ourselves from a personal brand perspective about our purpose, about our position, about what is our goal here? What's our, like, asking ourselves these hard internal questions. And I do this for organizations. And I usually do it, either through SurveyMonkey or type form, logic-based questions. And they're designed to really extrapolate the truths and the aspirations of the brand. And if you have employees, we even ask employees. Again, this whole exercise internally is to figure out internally, are we aligned or are we disjointed? More than likely, there's a lot of disjointedness happening. How do we course correct and how do we align? The second thing we want to look at is with our competitors is doing a SWOT analysis on our competitors. So simple SWOT analysis, if we're not aware, B School 101 says SWOT analysis is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So what does your company do well? What does your company not do well? I recommend, even on the internal side, do a SWOT analysis on yourself. But here's my trick. I do a SWOT analysis on my competition. And I actually write them down. I draw a matrix grid, XY axis, and I write it down because I want to know everything there is about our competitors. Because if they are going to tell us how we can win against them. And, you know, that's kind of the game here, right? Yes, there's enough business for everyone, but I want to make sure that my business, and I want to make sure that your business is leading the pack. We don't want to be playing second fiddle. We want to be leading the pack here. We just went through this. And now the third thing we're going to look at is our audience. So when looking at our audience, we need to understand a couple of things about them. So this becomes really important here. And I want everyone to pay attention. More than likely, you're engaging in some sort of marketing, whether that's online marketing, whether that's Facebook and social, whatever it is. It all comes back down to this slide I'm going to show you. How well do you know your audience? How well do you know all of this about them? Because this is what we're looking at. This will allow your marketing to be either successful or a disaster. Understanding your audience is going to allow you to grow your business or stay stagnant. We need to understand not just location and age and the typical, but what are their buying challenges? What are their buying habits? How has COVID changed this? I mentioned that a little while ago. Audiences have changed across the board. No longer the way we marketed on February 15th will be relevant today. Sure, some of it might be, but our audience has changed. So we need to approach our audience with equal parts empathy. Hey, because we've changed, we're all part of this. So equal parts empathy, well, equal parts authority, right? Again, as the guide to your audience, they're looking to you to help pave the way. They're looking to you to say, what do we do next? And if you are running for the hills, abandoning all hope, so is your audience. But if you say and understand your brand well enough that when it needs to pivot like it is right now, follow our lead. Use our products, follow our lead. Let us guide you to whatever success looks like in your specific case. And all that's going to happen because we know our audience. And if we're marketing and we're spending money in our marketing, well, we need to get it right. And we can't be taking a guess, an educated guess. So we need to do the work now with our audience. Because the impact by understanding our audience, it's going to impact product strategy and design. It's going to impact, again, marketing, advertising, content, everything, your sales. It's all based on understanding who's buying from you. I love using the term called smarketing. HubSpot coined it many years ago, and I'm just going to use it all the time. Smarketing, sales and marketing, we have to be aligned. Also, Zeno. Zeno was an ancient philosopher from ancient Greece many, many thousands of years ago, and he had a famous quote about people, that more people need to understand that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Act accordingly. I sit back and I say, well, how can we relate this to brands? Brands are very quick to get on a loudspeaker and start shouting, right? That's called advertising. I'm going to shout at you. Buy my product, buy my product, buy my product. What you may have missed is you talk to your audience, or telling you, hey, don't make this product, but make this other product. Or what if you changed the product and offered a different color? We would have a lot more people would buy. Guys, what I'm saying is your audience is going to tell you what to do next. You just have to listen to them. You have to take into account what they want. Survey them. Give them the tools to help you, right? Help me, help you kind of analogy. It's exactly what we're looking at here. It's exactly what we're talking about. Because we want to, in the end, identify customers. We want to understand what their needs are. And then we want to just show how our products fill their needs. It's very basic to think about in this way. But it all comes back to truly, truly understanding who your audience is. And I cannot stress this enough. All right, so what do we already know? We already went into finding our position. Again, we're going to look internally. What do we believe to be true about the brand? We're going to do some internal analysis on ourselves. We're going to look at our competition. We're going to do a SWOT analysis around them. And then we're going to dive into our customers, because they're going to show us our target audience, right? Our demographic, psychographic, and you can get very, very, very deep and granular here. Or you can kind of go mid-level. The idea here is, don't just say, my audience, 18 to 65 male. Yeah, sounds about right. No, it doesn't. That's way too wide of a net. We need to be a lot more strategic in order for our business to succeed. Personal brand, corporate brand, nonprofit brand, or startup brand. All right, so let's go into what it's going to take to build this framework now that we've really set the stage. So diving in, these are the core tenets of the brand, right? Core values. Everyone wants to talk about the core values of the brand. What does it really mean? Essentially, these are your brand pillars. They're keywords, 3 or 4 of them, that really just embody what your brand is about, and it serves as a starting point to develop your brand messaging. What you often want to do when I'm consulting with brands, and we've developed core values or brand pillars, depending on how you want to use it, as we start marketing and advertising and creating content, we start to see, are you matching against your core values? Do your core values and your day-to-day actions, are they aligned? Day-to-day actions are your marketing, right? So if your core values call for, empathy, authority, and respect, yet you are being, completely reactive in your marketing, you're taking a less authoritative role, and you're not really understanding your audience, you're just shouting at them, well, now we have a discrepancy. We have a guidebook to help guide us to get back on track. And what you see in the photos here is an example from Whole Foods. You walk into any Whole Foods in the country, and you're going to see their core values artistically drawn out or produced somewhere on a wall, whether it's in the prepared food section or behind the bread section or wherever, but you're going to see their core values. And they do it in a way that's inclusive for not just the audience, but it's inclusive for the employees and the staff, because we need the employees and staff to be drinking the brand Kool-Aid. They have to. This is where branding is really going to start. Also, your brand promise. So this is the promise that we're making to our customers that's really outlining our benefits that our customers can expect with every interaction, right? Every touch point, right? And so the formula for creating your brand promise is, well, what does your audience want? What benefits do you deliver? And then from your competitor side, what don't they promise? Where are they lacking? So as we start to get all this data and we start to get all these words and we're looking at it, there's a sweet spot right in the middle. That becomes your brand promise. We have to live this brand promise. This is outward. I promise as an organization, this is what I'm going to deliver. My brand promise, I've already delivered my brand promise a couple times to you in the beginning of this presentation. My promise to you is to make marketing and branding speak understandable. It's to make all this jargon and buzzwords not really matter, because I'm just going to deliver the facts to you. That is my brand promise, and what I live with every day. Because my audience, they care about their business, so they care about marketing. I know I can deliver marketing and branding advice, and I know that most of my competitors like to use buzzwords to make themselves sound important. I want to dumb it down, and I want to simplify this as much as possible, because I want to see you win. I want to see you succeed. The next thing is mission, vision, and purpose. As we're building up, your mission becomes this master plan for creating value. And this vision is that picture. If you've created this value in this master plan, well, this is what the vision is. But ultimately, we are driven by our purpose. And this is the reason why we exist beyond making money. Of course, we're all here to make money, but it's a byproduct of our work. There's got to be something else delivering and driving this. Now, I can go, right now it becomes a choose your own adventure when I speak. Because of the time, we're going to move on to a different subject, but we can go very deep into mission and vision. And I can let you know that again, a lot of my colleagues have thrown the mission statement out the window. Doesn't matter anymore. Unless, of course, you're a nonprofit organization or you have a board of directors that require it. But for most startups and most entrepreneurs and for most personal brands, the mission statement need not exist anymore. What becomes most important is obviously your brand purpose, but also your golden circle. This is what really is driving the organization. This is something that's memorable, and this is something that when we're able to pinpoint and actually understand becomes a lot more valuable than just a blanket mission statement that maybe you have in a document somewhere or is on the wall. So the golden circle, and if you have never seen Simon Sinek's Power of Why video, highly recommend it. I will, I'll send you all a link afterwards to this video. That's how important it is. I bring it up every time I talk. But Simon Sinek's Power of Why says that most people, they don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. That is what matters most. Every organization understands what they do, right? I do marketing. Great. I sell water bottles. Great. In the case of Apple, as Simon Sinek uses as an example, yeah, sure, they build computers, but no, they do a lot more than that. They challenge us to think differently, right? They've given us a reason to exist beyond just the fact that they have computers. So whenever I'm working with an organization or a personal brand, we're going to start with like, why do you do what you do? Why as a business are you in business? I told you earlier with my purpose, right? To make marketing and branding understandable so everyone can understand it. That's my why. I do what I do because I want to make branding, marketing understandable so you can win. It's why I get up every morning and love what I do. Quarantine or no quarantine, I'm still jazzed and excited. It doesn't really matter what I do. How I do it, yeah, sure. I have a framework that I've developed. I'm going to show you more of that in a bit. What do? I build brands. I build businesses. But it really becomes this why statement that everything. It powers our brand ethos. It powers it. So as we're going to continue to dive a little bit more, your unique brand voice. So I'm going to get away from the golden circle, but it's going to come right back around again. So as we're building our brand DNA and our core tenets here, your brand voice becomes very important. Personal brand, corporate brand, startup brand, nonprofit brand. These are evergreen principles. So they might change over time very slightly, but these have to be the flag that's planted in the ground for us. We need to make sure that their value is routine and predictable, because as the brand that wants to build trust, we always need to be what? Reliable. And this is how we're going to be reliable. So a lot of times we'll frame it like this. We are confident as a brand, but we are never cocky. So I like to give the we are, we aren't. This is how I do my brand voice, right? I want to give bookends. We are confident, not cocky. We are battle tested and ready. We are never complacent. We are cordial, yet we are also authoritative. So again, this is less about how we speak and more about how as a brand you act. Right? So like it's going to transcend. It's going to be on your website. It's going to be in your social. It's going to be when you meet someone face to face. These are all these core tenets of the voice. Again, these are routine and these are very predictable. Contrary to this, we have our brand tone. So this is the expression of the character of our brand. Our tone changes all the time, and it has to, right? Like this is how we are going to be relatable and empathetic towards our audience. Remember earlier I said our audience has changed probably forever. Well, our brand tone needs to change with them. We need to be empathetic with them. So these are all driven by context, right? Situational context. You might have, for the first time sales pitch, you might want to be upbeat and positive. For a new customer onboarding, you might want to be cheerful and encouraging. For emergency response, something that we've all sort of had to deal with recently, right? Maybe we need to be brief, precise, and careful. We don't want to sound the panic alarm, right? So these tone, and there could be as many as 40 different situations that we explore. And the goal of these situations is not that everybody memorizes them and, this is, we become, we're going to throw you in jail. The brand police are going to throw you in jail if you don't get it. But this is so that everyone has this again, this framework of how the brand is supposed to act and live and breathe every day. Again, do our core values and our day-to-day actions align? I always use the anecdote, how I speak with my friends is a lot different than how I speak to my coworkers, right? With my friends, I'm jovial and upbeat and I'm cracking jokes. But with my coworkers, and I'm seen as a leader in my field, I'm a co-founder of an organization with a couple employees, I need to act a certain way. So my tone is going to change based on my different situations. And again, I'm just talking about, this is my personal brand, right? Me, Stephen Picanza, this is exactly how it is. I am scaling my personal brand. And now we've come to the crux of it, everyone. We've come to the one-liner, and this is what we've all have come here for, the tip of the iceberg. So after we've done all this, we know our position, we understand who our audience is, we know what our brand promise is, we know what our golden circle is, why we do what we do, we understand what our brand voice is, our brand tone is. Well, all this, kind of comes together for that one concise statement that you can explain what you offer. The worst thing you could do, and I see it all the time, you go to a networking event. Oh, hi, so-and-so, I'm Steven. Well, what do you do? I ask someone, and you get, it's complicated. Oh my God, you've just lost me if you say that. And you just probably lost the sale. You have no idea who I am. You don't want to come up saying, oh, it's complicated, or, do you have 35 minutes so I can explain to you that I just sell cell phones or whatever it is. No, you want to be precise. You need to be brief. You need to say it with confidence. And how we build a one-liner is, what's the pain point you help your customer solve, plus your unique solution to that pain point, plus how does your customer's life look after their pain is resolved. I'm going to give you an example. My one-liner is, I've created a framework that helps business leaders and organizations streamline their messaging, create awesome marketing materials, connect with their audience, and grow their business. So out of this, what problem I solve, who I solve it for, my unique framework to solving it, and what the outcome is. Again, problem, solution, reward. And I guarantee you, if you can lock this down and you can memorize it and you can recite it backwards, forwards in Spanish and French and any language possible, you'll never be misunderstood as a personal brand, as a business leader, as a business owner. The one-liner is that important. So what I did as a little trick is I would write my one-liner on a Post-it note and keep it in my pocket. For months, I would do this. Anytime I grabbed my cell phone, my one-liner would be there, right? Because I want to be able to have it down. So if anyone ever asks me, I'm not fumbling over my words. I need to be authoritative as a business leader, and so do you. As a personal brand, you need to be authoritative. So the one-liner, again, framing the problem, the solution, and the reward, allows that person to say, awesome. Within 10 seconds, you told me everything I needed to know. Now we can move on with our business relationship. Now we can peel back the layers. But if you start off with it's complicated, or you have a 35-minute, anecdote to what it is that you do, you're losing people. And if you confuse your audience, you're going to lose your audience. So I know we're getting close to the end over here. In fact, we are at the end. So what I want to know is, what's your one-liner? And you can email me directly. You could put it in the chat. You could send it to me privately. I want to critique it, but I want to know what your one-liner is after you had the opportunity to maybe look at the slides. Again, problem plus solution plus reward. Give it to me straight. I want to know. All right, so as we were at the end over here, I know we got about 10 minutes left. I told you that if you stayed into the end, that you were gonna have a free gift. That's awesome. At the end of this, sometime today, check your email because I will be sending over my branding checklist. And the checklist is really meant to help you stay on top. It's going to cover a lot of what we spoke about today, but in an easy way to say, do I have this? Check. Check. And there's a psychological benefit, everyone, to literally checking off a checklist. And that's why I made it. I want to see you do this. I want you to check off, yes, I know what my brand one-liner is. I know what my golden circle is. I know what my tagline is if I need it, etc. That's how important. All right, so I hope today was insightful. Please let me know in the chat by saying yes, it was. Start asking questions. I know that we have a bunch of questions in the Q&A and the chat. Yes, I'm seeing people open up the chat. This is what I love to see, everyone. Again, Sue, David, Tambra, everyone, Andrea, thank you, Kristen, AJ, awesome. So what I want to do is I want to keep going. I'm going to put, I'm going to keep this up. And this is my web address. This is my email address, my LinkedIn. I would be so honored and grateful if after this presentation, I had 60 new requests. So there's 60 of you in this room. If I had 60 new requests on LinkedIn, that would be phenomenal. If you want to build your personal brand and you want to talk tactics, LinkedIn is exactly where you want to go. Awesome. I'm going to leave this slide up here and I'm going to start answering some questions. So I'm just going to open the Q&A. Do we get David asked, do we get copies? Yes, we do get copies of the presentation. Somebody asked me to cover the mission statement briefly. Sure. I mean, essentially the mission statement is that guiding statement that the whole organization should believe in. It is basically essentially that purpose statement, but the mission oftentimes is required by your organization type. So if you have more questions on the mission statement, please just email me directly. I'd love to tell you more. David, yes, you will receive an email from me. Why did you move to the East Coast? Aaron asks. Oh, that's a long, drawn-out question. I'm originally from the East Coast, but I lived 20-something years in California. And then I was living downtown. My wife and I, in 2017, decided to throw all of our stuff in storage, and we went traveling for a year and a half. And then I got offered the position at Drexel. I have another business partner out here, and it just sort of happened. But I will say this, our plan is I got to get back out west. It's 55 degrees here today. I would much rather be poolside. Kim, thank you. Are you saying yes? Sanjiv, yes, the mission nowadays can absolutely be replaced by the golden circle. And the reason why to recite it, right? What good is a mission statement if nobody knows what the hell the mission statement is? Chuck asks, what's the difference between the one-liner and 30-second elevator pitch? The difference, Chuck, is nothing. There is no difference. The one-liner is the 30-second elevator pitch. I just want to make it more concise. 30 seconds is a long time. In the age of now, right? We live in everything happens now. Let's make that one-liner as concise as possible. Christine, how many people on average should be interviewed to get the pulse of your ideal client? Christine, brilliant question. I think it all really depends on, the type of organization you're in, B2B versus B2C, as well as how many employees. But on your ideal client, try to strive for 5 to 7 to start. If you can interview 5 to 7 customers, that's awesome. If you have an email list, I put out a survey and incentivize them. $50 gift card, just for answering this survey. One lucky, subscriber is gonna get a $50 gift card for answering the survey. You're gonna get a lot of answers, and you get a lot of qualitative advice and a lot of qualitative data. And that's what I would do. And in fact, I told you I run an e-commerce company, and this is exactly what we're doing right now. I need more information about our customers. We literally just put out a couple emails to our list, giving away a $50 gift card just to answer 6 questions on SurveyMonkey. Barbara, yes, you will get the PDF of this. If you want to print it out, that's on you. Might be a waste of paper and ink, but hey, you do you. But you will get this in a PDF. Any additional questions, anyone? I see a couple other questions. Kristen, the health coach, triple on your one-liner. Yes, you don't want to describe your process, right? You want to just tell them you have a framework, you have a process. But again, you solve what is their pain point you're solving. If you are a health coach, I help people lose 20 pounds in 3 months or whatever it is, by using my, proven framework to help you get a healthy lifestyle, something along those lines. Again, you don't want to scare them by your process. Your process is probably pretty in-depth and pretty unique to you. You just want to let them know that you have a framework, that if they follow this framework, they will see success. If you don't follow the framework, you're not going to see success. Hopefully that helped. Do you recommend reevaluating your ideal client? Oh, Christine, it is a big process, and I honestly recommend doing a quarterly or a twice a year little brand audit, because, and I'm going to tell you, by keeping tabs of your audience, by keeping tabs of your brand and making little micro iterations, it's a lot palatable and a lot less frustrating than doing a once a year and realizing you have to go through perhaps a larger brand refresh once a year that has a higher dollar tag. So if you do it once right and then have a maintenance plan, think about it like changing your oil. You buy a new car, they recommend getting your oil changed every 3,000 miles. Now, if you only get your oil changed once a year, all of a sudden you have to rebuild your tranny. Well, that's cost you a lot more money than if you just got your oil changed every 3,000 miles. So Christine, I very much recommend it. And, if you ever need any help, please reach out to me. Edward, branding helps set the tone for your, yes, brand. Yes, Edward, you don't want to start communicating to your audience until you know who your audience is and what kind of content they want, how they want to receive that content. Again, you don't want to help guide your audience and not know anything about your audience. Don't guide blindly, guide intelligently. Annetta says, when at a networking meeting, should we ask others about themselves before saying our one-liner to them? Link our one-liner to whatever. That's great. That's great. That's fantastic to think about like that. I would, again, situational context, depending on what kind of networking event you're in. Of course, two ears and one mouth for a reason. Get them talking. Have them ask you also what you do. And if you're able to make that connection, attach your one-liner to perhaps a pain point that might be hidden in whatever that person said, then you're hitting a home run, because you're going to seem so relevant and you're going to say, oh, they're going to be like, where have you been in my whole life? So absolutely. Chris, we're doing market. Charles, we're doing market research. How can we get competitors' insight, tracking, and pricing info, et cetera? There are a lot of tools out there. Amazon, I know, has a thing called Seller Tools that really helps you go in and look at pricing. I would also look at some SEO tools that can help you dive in and get some competitive research. If you shoot me an email, if it's not public, then it becomes a little bit more difficult. This is where you might have to put on your sleuth hat and, perhaps go on a secret mission or have someone go on a secret mission. It never hurts to be a client of your competitor, if you get what I mean, as long as within reason. Obviously, if they're selling, cars or something with a massive price point. But again, I sell on Amazon. I sell barbecue products and entertaining products. You're damn right. I buy my competitor's product. I want to see not just how the product is used, but I want to see what does packaging look like? What does the post-purchase funnel look like? I want to know all of these insider tidbits of information. So it is 12 o'clock on the West Coast, 3 o'clock on the East Coast. I am forever grateful that you were all able to attend today. Afterwards, will you call? Definitely. I'm an artificial intelligence student. Yes, Charles. I actually have quite experience in the AI space. So please definitely connect with me. Afterwards, you will be getting an email from either SCORE or myself, or possibly even both, with the presentation, the free gift, some of these resources I recommended. And please, if you ever have any questions on how I can help guide your brand and just help make marketing and branding more understandable, all my contact information is here. And again, we'll see you next time. Thanks again.